All right, so will worship. Worshiping our willpower instead of the one who is all powerful. All right, that's what we're talking about today. It is Wednesday, and we're just gonna have like a little spiritual nugget right now. All right, it's functional. This is functional faith. This is what I share in our group. But on Wednesdays, I share this with the world. Okay. All right. So, will worship. So today I was talking to my health coach. Terry Hall is her name, and she's fabulous. And I was talking to her about like my goals, what I'm wanting to focus on, and like my intentions for my health, right? And I realized she said something to the effect of like, "Wow, you're really knowledgeable about holistic health," and I was like, "Yes, but." Don't know what just happened with my hair right there, but I got caught on my nail. Yes, I'm knowledgeable. Okay, I'm knowledgeable, but I'm not so good with the implementation. And so I told her I want help being more consistent, being a little bit less of a perfectionist, and just actually putting action behind my knowledge. And so that helped me to recognize that. Oh wow, yep. Knowing is not doing, because I know so much. Like I know so much. I've followed holistic health for a long time. I've learned a lot about physical health, emotional health, mental health, spiritual health, but knowing is not doing. And between meeting with her today for an hour, talking about, a lot of it's me talking because y'all know I can talk a lot, talking about, I've been trying this and I've been doing that and I've done a little bit of that too. And have you heard of this? I realized, like, she pointed out to me, you know a whole lot. And I was like, yeah, but like, I need you to help me stay consistent and actually do. So anyway, also reading one of my favorite books. I'm reading this book about spiritual exercises. And I'm like, man, it's like I'm reading this for the first time. Like I know nothing here is new to me. There's no new knowledge here, right? But I'm not doing, right? So for me, the way that how do I put this? Okay, so for me, and I think for a lot of other people, let me know in the comments if this is true for you. Maybe it's not true for you at all and you can't relate, but I think this will relate for some people. For me, I define sin by like its actual definition. Like I don't, this might offend some people, I don't use the word sin in my own personal life. I don't say to myself, oh, Crystal, you're sinning, because for me, that word carries a lot of shame. Okay, let me know if you can relate to that. For me, the word sin, it just like literally brings my energy down immediately, just saying it or thinking it, and it just immediately sends me into shame. Okay, there is guilt. We make mistakes. Okay, and like guilty or not guilty, yeah, I did it. I think somebody's coming home, might be consensus, whatever. But there's like guilt. Yeah, I did it. Like I did that. Like I made that mistake. But that's not the same as shame. Shame is beating yourself up. Jesus died for us for us to be able to give him shame. Like we don't have to bear shame, and we don't even have to bear that. We have the guilt and we confess it, and we are forgiven, and it's done. Like we were forgiven at the cross, right? So anyway, I don't really use the word sin so much in my spiritual walk. How I speak to myself, what I hear from God, I prefer the word misalignment. Because the definition of sin is missing the mark. It's actually an archery term. And if you haven't heard this before, I hope that you tune in. It's an archery term that's being used there. And it's literally you're pulling back, you're pulling back the bow, right? And I'm not an archer. I learned it a little bit in PE in high school, but and I was actually decent in high school. Okay, I wasn't good at any of like the running, throwing, or catching or kicking sports, but archery, I wasn't do that. But anyway, okay, so you're pulling back the bow and you're releasing and you're missing the bullseye. You're just off. Maybe you're off a little bit, maybe you're off a lot. And that is how sin is defined in the Bible. So for me personally, removing the historical from like church history and personal history connotation to the word sin and just using the definition of it, misalignment, being misaligned, is helpful to me because it helps me to identify when I am a little bit off and when I need to realign, and when I am way off and I need to realign with God, with his purposes, with his love, with his truth, with his goodness and his plan for me. So that's how I define sin. And I bring that up because, knowing is not doing. And when we know the truth and we're not walking in that truth, whether that truth is, it all comes back to love, right? When we're not walking in love, the law of Christ, then we're in misalignment. We're misaligned. And this oftentimes works out in our habits. Sometimes that's like a really easy way to see when we are in misalignment, right? Is our habits. And so just something like just on the shallow level, like I was not in the habit of exercising, even though I know the truth of it is that I feel I'm more energetic, I'm more pleasant, I'm more generous with my time. I'm in a better space when I exercise, right? And I know how to exercise. It's the 21st century. Like, we can do anything. And literally what I did was I got an app and I just started doing little exercises. So I recognize I have a habit of not exercising. So I did, right? I know I do. But what's interesting about really everything, but especially spiritual things, right? But we see it ripple out to other things. What is so true is just knowing, right? Knowing I'm in misalignment, and then just doing, right? I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to start exercising every night. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get this plan, and I'm going to make it happen. That still leaves us in misalignment. It brings us maybe somewhat closer to the mark. Probably not, though, because we're still in misalignment, because it's not about our head. It's not about what we know. It's not about our hand. It's not about what we do. It's about our heart. And we get these things, we get it out of order. We do head, hand. I know that I'm supposed to be doing better with physical things, eating right and exercising. I know I'm supposed to be doing better with spiritual things, serving others or reading my Bible or praying. I know I'm supposed to be doing better relationally, being more patient with people. I know I'm supposed to be doing better, whatever. And so that's the head. And then we go straight into the hand. So I will do this. I will do that. Right? But we totally skip over the heart. It's out of order. It's out of order. So I thought about it and I was like, well, should it be heart, head, hand? And then I thought about it and no, because we have to know what is right. We have to know what is good. We have to know what is true and good and beautiful before we can even have our heart stirred in that way. And let me kind of explain this, because I'm not saying there are people who identify themselves as Christians and people who identify themselves as other, right? Anything else. And they are still doing things out of a good heart. Okay. And I think that's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful truth, because God gives us all this general revelation of goodness, of justice, of generosity, of love for our fellow man. And I think that's a spiritual reality for everyone. I think that's a moral reality for everyone. We all have this sense of morality and love for our fellow human being. And so it's that knowledge. It's this knowledge of this just inner, not something that you have to get from a book, not something that anyone has to tell us, but this inner revelation, this inner knowledge of truth, this inner knowledge of goodness, this inner knowledge of beauty that I think it's us being made in God's image. The Bible says that we're made in God's image, and that's the piece of God that it's been tarnished, broken, stomped down by the pain and the brokenness in this world, but it's still there. It's still true. That spark is still there. And it's the knowledge of, what is just, what is good, what is beautiful. It's that knowledge that moves our heart to serve others, to pursue justice, to pursue right action on behalf of others, to protect people and protect and love, right? So it's supposed to be head, heart, hand, not head, hand, heart. Because when we're doing things in the wrong order, that's when we get burnt out. That's when we get bitter and resentful and feel like people owe us something, right? So there's nothing that we can do. And I think a lot of us know this. Those of us who are raised in the church, we know that there's we know there's nothing that we can do to earn grace. There's nothing we can do to earn salvation or God's favor or spiritual freedom. There's nothing we can do, right? But I think we get tripped up thinking that there is something that we can do to grow in it, right? And in a way, so like there's literally nothing we can do. Like it's not something that our works attain. And so we have the temptation to just say like, okay, so I have a knowledge of where I'm misaligned. And I want to just jump right into doing, right? Into fixing. And so we'll do like a frontal attack, like I did. Like I was like, okay, so I'm just going to start exercising. Like I'm just going to hit it head on. I'm not exercising. I'm going to get this app and I'm going to do it, right? But what's interesting is that actually gets us more misaligned. It's like, think about it. Think about trying to pursue becoming more humble. The more you try to be humble, the farther you get away from it. And the trouble is that frontal attack, it either leads into, just think about any stronghold that you have in your life, any hang up, any bad habit, any bad attitude that you have. It either like you taking a frontal attack and just going for a head on, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm always going to do this from now on. It either leads to you feeling defeated, or us getting prideful. And either way, whether we feel defeated or prideful, while we're pursuing that head on, we're judging the people around us who aren't. We're judging the people around us who are still gossiping. We're judging the people around us who are still whatever, like voting for so-and-so or going to seeing their grandparents or whatever. Whatever we aren't doing, we are judging the people around us, right? And our strenuous effort to become more healthy physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, whatever it might be, it can become a form of idolatry. So it's bringing it all the way back around to will worship. And so that's something that the Lord has just been speaking to me, really convicting me in right now, is worshiping my own willpower, thinking, I just need to do better. I just got to be better. And I need to know more so that I can do more, so that I can be better. And that's not what God has for us. It's not. Whew. Okay, I hope that made sense. I should recap, but I want to keep this as short as I can. But it's not about what we know. Knowing is not doing, right? Knowing is not doing. When we come misaligned, knowing that we're misaligned and trying to do something better and just hitting that head on, man, that just gets us further away from the mark, because we're doing it out of the wrong motivation. We're doing it out of the wrong heart. So how do we get in alignment? How do we do it out of a right heart, how do we work in alignment? And I said work in alignment, but how do we get into alignment? So we're going to discuss that in the functional faith group. this Friday, we're going to discuss 3 ways to get in alignment with divinity and your highest and healthiest self. Doesn't that sound so good? That's what we want. We want to be in alignment with divinity and our highest and healthiest self. So that's what I had for today. I hope that was a blessing to someone. I hope it was convicting, but also uplifting and encouraging. And please, 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 if you're not a part of the Functional Faith group, join it, because you're not going to want to miss what we have to share on Friday. All right. I hope you have a blessed day and a happy Wednesday.